What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Down the Middle. And I just realized I don't have my headphones plugged in, so it might sound weird if these guys say anything before I do this. All right, it should be honky dory now. This podcast is brought to you by Butcher Box. More on them in a moment. But Brian, I know we're here to talk about Mercedes, but you said something, and I can't let it slide.
So let's first talk about
I gotta be a
I'm
man.
back.
I
I'm
can't let
back
it
this
slide.
week. Let's talk
You're
about how
what?
I'm back.
Oh yeah,
Well, you're
Brian's
done.
back, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah.
We
You
knew
didn't
we
miss
knew
me. You
we
guys didn't miss me.
your presence,
I
your
did.
absence. I was about to say your presence was felt, but no, your absence was felt. Yeah. But you were mentioning the Edge and Christian match, and I told you I started to watch it. The Jersey spot completely took me out of it, and I will explain why. But you were going to say something, and then I said, "Hold on, let's hold that thought."
I was talking about the match. It was it. And I think I can say why. I think the reason why you didn't care for the spot
You know
is
me well enough, I'm sure. Yeah.
because Christian was putting the jersey on himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, it's one of them fine details as like a fan you notice, but when you're in the moment of like Edge is trying to put that jersey on him and trying to put his jersey on, it's one of them things of like it's kind of hard to put somebody's jersey on them and put your own on at the same time for it to lead up.
Then don't do it. I guess so. For those of you who are saying, because I know you're out there in the comments section. But by the way, I should probably pull that up. But I know what some people are going to say, and to that, to respond, I would simply say this: Imagine you're watching a UFC fight, and one of the fighters wants to do, and this is even worse, wants to do a jump from the cage. I've seen it done. Jump from the cage and kick the guy in the head. And imagine the other guy sees that he's going to miss that kick and then runs in and places his face exactly where it needs to be so that he can land that kick. Now dial that up to 11, and that's why spots like this ruin wrestling for me
Mhm.
personally. Because I watch wrestling, and I know I'm apparently I'm weird. I don't think I'm weird, but as far as the vocal minority goes, I'm weird. As far as the AEW fan base goes, I know I'm weird. But when I watch a wrestling match, I'm suspending my disbelief and reacting to it as though it were a real fight, or not even a real fight, a real competition, a real sport fight. But when they do something, and I was already kind of getting out of him when Edge couldn't figure out like, I get it. It's hard to put a jersey on, and it's always like, I need to do this fast, and that's when the shirt never cooperates.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. Like, that's just me, though. I know a lot of people loved it. I know a lot of people thought it was great, and I guess more power to them. But me personally,
So
I
I think this spot would have been better if they both would have came out with the jersey on as their entrance.
I agree. That
Yeah,
would have worked.
absolutely. Yeah.
And
Then they
then
could have
it could have
played.
been, yeah.
They could have played the penalty box thing. Then the jerseys could have came off.
Hmm.
See, there you go. If
But
you're
it did
adamant
take
about
me out
using,
of
oh,
it.
yeah, exactly. If you're adamant about using the
Mhm.
jerseys, bring them in from the beginning. And it would make sense because they were in Toronto. It would make sense for Edge to be wearing a Leafs jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, that would just make sense. Now, what I'm wondering though, because they took it from people in the audience, I'm wondering were they plants or did Edge just get an idea?
I mean,
No,
it could have
100%
been just an
plants.
idea of
I
I
think
mean,
they were plants,
probably.
though.
Probably, but yeah, watching Edge, I get it. Christian was, kind of wobbly, so Edge, yeah, it took a little extra time to get the jersey on. But once I saw Christian, who was supposed to be like borderline unconscious, start putting the shirt on, I
Yeah, that's the
yeah.
part that took me out of it.
okay, I'm glad I'm not in the
Um,
minority.
but the match after that was great. I mean, the way it finished was good.
Yeah, because
Oh,
Edge won the
absolutely.
title, right?
Hmm.
It, um,
Yeah.
so they handcuffed Kill Switch, whatever his name is. That's what they're calling him now. Is Kill Switch, I think.
Oh, damn it, I know who you're talking about. I'm just having a brain fart.
What is his name?
Oh, Luchasaurus.
Luchasaurus. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Um.
Wow,
So the
and
handcuff.
okay, okay. I thought Luchasaurus was a stupid name. He's still wearing the dinosaur mask.
Yeah, that's the part I don't get. He still looks the same.
And I guarantee you there was probably discussion backstage. Listen, we're going to change your gimmick. You're going to be Kill Switch now. Gonna keep the dinosaur mask? Yes, you can keep the dinosaur mask. Because it's AEW, and that's what we do. But speaking of AEW, why the people clicked on this video in a
Mercedes.
in a development that surprised no one.
Yeah. No one was
Mercedes,
surprised.
yeah, nobody was surprised. Like we were all speculating when she didn't show up at the Rumble, we were like, "Oh, okay, she's going to AEW." And then Tony
Yeah.
Khan made his big announcement about the big announcement, where he then announced big business in Boston. It's like, "Oh, that's Mercedes is going to debut." Now, as far as her debut goes, I have thoughts. They're not good.
Enlighten me.
So the first thing is she should have debuted in a match. Now, okay, maybe she's not medically clear yet because she hasn't wrestled, I don't think, has she?
She just wrestled this
Oh,
past.
she just did. Okay. I saw her in-ring promo, but I didn't see the match. So, okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so she is
Yeah,
ready.
she last Wednesday. Wrestled this past Wednesday,
Right.
which
I
is
would have
yesterday.
yeah, I would have had her debut in a match personally because I watched her promo. I got to say, it was long, it was boring, and it didn't really do anything. Disagree, agree?
I completely agree. I mean, like
Yeah.
Your silence,
Sasha's
I was like, did I miss something?
Sasha's never really been, to me at least, never really been big on promos.
I think so. This shows a distinction between the WWE style and the AEW style. I really do think they just said, "Yeah, go out there. You've got X number of minutes," and she took every bit of time. But it just seemed like it took so long for her to get somewhere, and she never went anywhere
Yeah.
with the promo. Um, that being said, Eric Bischoff is catching some heat on Twitter because he basically said he's cutting up the fact that I guess that segment got a rating of 800,000 viewers, which is kind of high. It's on the high end for AEW audiences, but and I wanted to do this before, but I didn't have time this week. I wanted to look up the lowest rated WWE segment period that same week and compare the numbers. And particularly if you go with Raw or SmackDown, not NXT, NXT was probably equal. Um, but if you compare it to Raw or SmackDown, I would wager to say that it was still 2 million plus for the lowest segment.
Maybe.
I'd have to look. I
Maybe.
That's pure
I kind of
speculation.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pure speculation. Now, here's the thing though. I
Mm.
don't like segment by segment ratings until I started paying attention to AEW segment by segment ratings because the drop offs are usually pretty substantial. And you're looking at how they stack the card. Now, caveat. I looked at the card because I intended to watch Dynamite yesterday. I ended up not being able to because my schedule got all kinds of fucked around. But I did want to at least watch the Mercedes Monet promo. But I looked at the card, and I'll be honest, on paper, the card seemed pretty decent for the most part. And I was kind of like, I actually would have liked to watch this. But I know it's good on paper. So did you guys watch Dynamite?
The only
I
thing
saw
I
part of
watched
it.
was the
I
Christian
didn't get a
Edge.
chance to see everything.
Yeah. Was the card actually good or was it?
It was okay,
Yeah,
decent
what you
from the
saw of
part
it?
I saw, but yeah, but I didn't see all of it. I had to go back to watch everything.
Well, because I know on paper it said like you had Eddie Kingston versus Okada, which first of all, you're putting Okada as the opening match on Dynamite. Really? Kazuchika Okada. Okay. I mean, at least it was with Eddie Kingston and not Chuck Taylor, which I can see. I can see happening. But yeah, so I guess the speculation and what we're really here to discuss is, will Mercedes bring money to AEW or will it be more of the same? I think you all know where my vote is, but I don't blame Mercedes.
To be
It's
honest,
gonna
I
be the
think it's gonna
same.
be more of the same.
It's going to be the same.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now, the thing of
yeah.
it is, she should and could bring in money if she were utilized properly. But I've said it before, but I'm going to state it now for the record. Mercedes is going to get a push for like a month or two, and then nothing. And I say this because it happened with Soraya, it happened with Ruby
Mm.
Soho, it happened. Well,
Yeah.
Tony Storm. It happened with Tony Storm, but then they decided to do the gimmick that I'm now sick of. It's gonna happen with Deanna Perrazzo because she's right in her peak because she debuted what
She
about a
is.
month
You can
ago?
tell she's
Yeah,
falling off.
yeah, because she debuted about a month ago. Like
Yeah.
it's happening. Um, yeah, but it's cool because they always have Riho. At least they have Riho.
I don't know. They just can't seem to figure out how to book their women wrestling.
They can't seem to figure out how to book
not,
their
not at all.
wrestling. But the women's
I
division
mean,
in particular does seem to be kind of like tons. And where's where's Britt Baker?
he's injured right now. Last I heard.
Oh, she's okay. She's injured. Okay, then
Yeah.
then that's a pass.
Yeah, last I heard she was still injured. So
Okay, that's fair. But speaking of injuries, and I haven't seen this, so you can enlighten me if I'm getting a detail wrong. Comment section, looking at you, because I know you're getting ready to type it in.
Feenan.
Yeah, Darby Allen was going to be written off TV so that he could go climb Mount Everest, but then actually got injured. And then the next week they did an injury angle to write him off TV.
Why?
Why are you making more work for yourselves? And I'm paraphrasing Jim Cornette here. If he was dead set on climbing Mount Everest, which first of all, dumb idea, but if he was dead set on it, send a camera with him.
Yeah,
Publicize it. Then you can say one of our wrestlers climbed Mount Everest.
they literally could make a documentary out of it.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
don't tell me that one, like, yeah, Darby Allen. Every time you introduce Darby Allen from now on, you can say climber of Mount Everest, and that can follow him wherever he goes. So that's first thing. But then, okay, so for some reason you don't want to do that, which you know Darby's going to document it anyway. So maybe they were just planning on using the footage. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But still, I would think that you would advertise that. It's like watch Darby Allen climb Mount Everest.
On,
But
on top of on top of that, like you get outside people that's just watching for the Everest aspect, watching Darby Allen, and then they're like, "Oh, he's a wrestler.
and then they
Let
see
me
his
check
car
this out."
crash matches, yeah, and I mean that in
Yeah.
a good way.
Yeah, it would bring in new eyes.
Well, WWE is allergic to
Or
that
eye.
apparently. An eye and bring in an eye. No, I think it legitimately would bring in some eyes, but okay.
Yeah.
So for some reason you decide not to do that. So then you decide, okay, we're going to write you off TV with an injury angle. Okay, that makes sense in theory, but with anyone except Darby Allen, how are you going to injure this dude in a way that's believable?
I
Actually
mean,
hurt him.
he jumped off a ladder through a pane of glass and 6 chairs.
His finishing move is jumping backwards off of a tall thing and landing on his spine. How are you going to injure this dude? But then they actually did. But then instead of saying, oh, yeah, in
Finally.
Sting's retirement match, he broke 3 bones in his foot, so he's going to be out for a bit, they do an injury angle on Dynamite. It doesn't make sense. I don't know who's Tony Khan is allegedly writing the show. Stop.
Now,
I
don't do it
mean,
again.
they've got a roster full of talent, and it's so frustrating as a wrestling fan because I remember when AEW was actually decent. It was pretty good. Now, granted, we were comparing it to WWE, which at the time was like,
Meh, at most.
I was gonna say, meh was a good episode. Where I was like, man, that wasn't terrible. But like, I remember when it was a very rare occurrence to watch Raw till the end.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, okay,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was a couple of years ago.
yeah, that was a view. Now it's like,
Many years ago.
yeah, but I think it's a crying shame because Mercedes should bring in a ton of money. But I have a theory because I can't remember which one of you said it in our group chat, but you said it must be a short term deal, or I read it somewhere.
Oh yeah, about the contract because I heard that she was going to go to back to WWE. So I was saying maybe it's like a short term contract, maybe for a few months or even a year or two. And that's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it was a year or two. I wouldn't. She probably
Mhm.
signed a 2 year deal if I had to guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because maybe she wanted to, and I can understand this given what happened to her. I could understand why maybe she didn't want to run back to WWE that just got sold. Maybe she wants to see how the new company culture is going to be. Because, yeah,
yeah,
things are good now, but as we saw with AEW, for fun fact, starts out great and then things happen. So, at the very least, from a business sense, it makes sense to go to AEW because if nothing else, she's going to get paid for the duration of her contract, and she's probably
hmm
going to get
Yeah.
paid a lot.
And I also heard that Tony's going to allow her to like wrestle other places like New Japan and like I guess TNA or whatever. But she's able to go overseas too. So I'm not too sure, like
Yeah, and
how long
that's
she's
that's
going
a
to be there.
yeah, that's a deal that a lot of the wrestlers have, which I'll be honest with, I like. The only thing I if if I were in charge in AEW, it sounds good on paper, but every time they go and wrestle somewhere else, they risk getting injured somewhere else. Because at the very least, if they're injured in an AEW ring, we can use that when they're ready to come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if she gets
hmm
injured in TNA, I mean, what am I going to do with that? I can't do anything with that. Well, actually, I take that back. They are using it with Willow Nightingale, which that happened in New Japan, but that's because they have a. That's only because Willow Nightingale is in AEW that works, and it doesn't work that well. Thoughts,
Yeah.
thoughts, questions, concerns.
No, I agree. I definitely agree.
This is a conversation where everybody's just like, yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I feel like Mercedes is, like you said, I think she's going to get a push for a month, maybe two, and then she's just going to drop off. And then she's just going to fade into the scene and then just get used every once in a while.
yeah, and I don't think we're gonna get a Mercedes Monet OnlyFans out of this one.
That's not one I'd pay for, anyways.
I'm just saying because she hasn't started one yet. Usually that happens beforehand, but
That's true. That's true.
I mean Tony might be paying enough. But I mean, does Tony Storm still have one? I don't know.
She might. Not too
I know
sure.
she had one at one
Yeah.
point. I was gonna look up when is WrestleMania.
April 6th and 7th.
Attaboy. Pull up my calendar instead. So our next podcast is on April 4th. So I guess we can just do a WrestleMania celebration and just
Celebration time. Come on. Let's celebrate.
WrestleMania.
That's actually the day after Benji's birthday.
Wow, you had to bring that up. Kill the mood.
Did
Really?
That's wrong. That's wrong, Mama.
No, you're good. Uh, I damn, I thought we were gonna disagree a little bit more.
No, I really, since she's left WWE, I just don't think she hasn't done anything. Like she hasn't caught my eye anywhere.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
what
and
about when
that's
she was in New Japan?
yeah, I
Sorry,
know, and that
when
was
she was over there, she didn't really like move a needle for me. You know, like I saw a few matches, I liked it, but it wasn't like the best. You know.
somebody did point out in our comments, because we uploaded the video, the clip of when we were talking about Mercedes going into the Royal Rumble, and we speculated that I speculated she was going to be in the Rumble. But basically, somebody had, I guess, disagreed with me by saying, like, of course she moved the needle in New Japan. I'm like, okay, yes, I didn't do the best job of explaining my point because, of course, she moved the needle in New Japan for New Japan.
Mhm.
A lot of people have done that. But relative to the impact she would have had with a WWE return, it's negligible.
Yeah.
She did not bring that, and not to say she would bring that many new eyes to the WWE product, but a lot more WWE fans would be happy about that. And that leads to merchandise sales. That might be, I mean, they don't do pay-per-view buys anymore, but that might lead to a Peacock subscription, which we know WWE at least gets a chunk of that when that happens, or at least they get like a revenue share of the viewers of their premium live events.
Yeah.
But it's not like New Japan's viewer base jumped up 40% or anything like that. And plus,
I
I mean, oh, go ahead.
just I mean going back to her promo, like her debut promo in New Japan was just so bad.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't I don't want to say I blame her. I don't know who made the mistake, but I remember I watched it and I went, "Ooh." And I knew there goes New Japan. And now a lot of people said, "Oh, she had some great matches." I'm like, "Okay, that may be true." But after that debut, because I was going to give it a fair shake. And I know I'm not the only one. I'm not saying that my opinion matters more than anybody else's, but I guarantee you a lot of people saw that and went, "Oh, I guess she doesn't have it outside of WWE."
Yeah.
It's not
And
fair.
personally, I don't like the hairstyle. I really don't.
I liked
I
okay, so
Yeah.
I was down with the vibrant colors, but yeah, I know what you mean. The dyeing the words into it, it's
Yeah, that part takes me out of it. I really dislike that one. I like the way she used to be. I was okay with that, but not this so much.
heads do not work well for billboards. We now know that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mercedes. But yeah, it's I'm the same way too. I wasn't really a fan of the hair, and the weird thing, I kind of touched on this, and I don't really know how to put it in the words. I guess in WWE, I don't want to say this like she's bad in the ring because I don't think this. I don't know how to put this. But when she was in NXT and WWE, she always looked really good in the ring. And I think that's partially because everybody she worked with knew how to make her look good, and she knew how to make them look good because she was brought up in that system, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
But
100%.
when you're out of WWE, you may or may not have that.
Yeah.
And that's why, I use the example of Jade Cargill's match with Anna Jay. I like both of them a lot, but they were both so green that in the ring together, they couldn't cover for each other because they didn't know how.
Yeah.
And that match was, I'm not going to say it was terrible, but it was definitely a step down in match quality for both of them. Which again, I don't blame either one of them because they were told go out there and have a match. I blame whoever booked it because that was foolish.
Yeah, they weren't ready at all.
No.
Not at
And
that point.
Neither
and
one was
speaking
ready to call a match.
and speaking of Jade Cargill, like I know we're trying to stay on the AEW kick right now, but I can't help but say you debate She debuted at the Rumble.
Yeah.
We're 2 weeks away from Mania, and we've not heard a single thing since from her.
I'm Hakeem and I touched on this. I'm okay with that. Now, there's rumors that she's going to have a match with Nia Jax at WrestleMania. We had the same reaction.
Yes.
It's what and I believe what I said was if she's ready, it'll be awesome. I think it's
Yeah.
too soon. I think if it was next WrestleMania, it'd be
Perfect. Yeah, yeah,
perfect.
yeah. I feel like
Honestly,
it's
now
more
that
of
I'm
a
thinking,
showcase for her to see like what how far they came with her compared to AEW. Not
Yeah.
really a match, no. But
I mean, now that I'm really thinking about it, and I completely forgot about Raw after Mania, SmackDown after Mania. That's always when people debut, people
mhm.
come back. Maybe that's what they're saving her for.
Maybe, but I also made I can't remember. I'm not gonna say because I can't remember if it was me or Hakeem who made this point, or this idea, not this point, but it might be if Jade is ready, they might be putting this match together as kind of a middle finger to AEW because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
pretty
yeah, you
much.
had her for 3 years, we had her for a few months, and look what
Yeah,
we did.
6 months, eight
six
at
months, yeah.
tops. No.
Yeah. And I've seen some of she's clearly working her ass off at the performance center, which is a testament to her. And I
Mhm.
know she was working hard when she was in AEW, but well, you all are familiar with the story when they said you're going to use a chair and she never knew how to. Thank God CM Punk was there to
Yeah.
tell her how to use a chair. But but yeah, so
I
I
mean, we'll
think if
just have
she
to.
is, yeah, I think if she is at WrestleMania, it will be because they want to kind of stick it to AEW a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't think they won't put Triple H will not put her out there if she's not ready.
Yeah.
So that's comforting. So I know if we hear Jade Cargill's music, she's ready.
I mean, we'll just have to wait and see then. I mean,
Yeah, we'll see.
she
Fortunately,
looked,
we don't have to wait long.
yeah,
Yeah.
a couple weeks. I mean, she
Yep.
looked good at the Rumble. I mean, she
Yeah,
obviously didn't do much, but like,
what she did do,
I just still have that same facial expression Becky Lynch had.
I just really really wish that AEW would take a page because like you said, in the Rumble, Jade didn't do that much. In fact, probably the most iconic part was a pose.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, okay, second most iconic because she threw Nia out, right?
Manhandled her.
What's that? Yeah, manhandled her. Okay, so probably second most iconic. But that was her big moment, right?
Mhm.
I wish AEW would learn how to utilize because they have how AEW has, which I also blame Penta for this, but I used to love Cero Miedo. I loved
Yeah.
it. I thought that shit was badass. And
Mhm.
now he does it so often, multiple times in match, which I know in Lucha Underground he would do it multiple times in a match, but now it's like every single time he can, and now I'm sick of it. And
Yeah,
that
and it's also the
sucks.
way he does it now. It's more like comic relief than the actual like seriousness. You
Yes,
know?
at least in Lucha Underground, the reason it seemed badass is because it seemed like a philosophy and not a catchphrase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then the glove thing. I didn't like the glove thing when he did it the first time, and now in AEW, every time he just in the middle of a match, real slow, and I'm just, ugh. And I'm a huge Pentagon fan. But every time I see it, I die a little inside because I'm like,
Mhm.
man, you used to be so cool. I mean, you still are, but
Yeah.
I'd love to see Pentagon Dark again.
Yeah.
Is he still tag teaming
Yeah.
with Phoenix? They're
Right.
still Lucha Brothers.
We haven't seen Ray Phoenix for the last couple of weeks. Like I
Okay,
haven't seen him on AEW for a while. Like I don't know if he's injured. I just don't know if he's booked. I just haven't seen anything from him.
I would honestly love get Penta take a vacation, take a paid vacation, take a few months away, and then come back. a la Lucha Underground, Pentagon Dark, and just wreck people. I would love to see that. Maybe I just go back and watch Vampiro versus Pentagon Jr. at Ultima Lucha 1.
That was one of my favorite matches
It's
from.
still, man, it's still to
Yeah,
this day
that
one of my
was
favorite
amazing.
matches of all time. So awesome. And it's weird because it's literally a clinic on how to, because you know Vampiro's calling the match, but Pentagon is doing an awesome job of covering up the fact that Vampiro just can't do certain things anymore. But you don't
Yeah.
think about it because of how well they've structured that match. Which, by the way, anyone watching, if you haven't watched that match yet, watch it. In fact, every Ultima Lucha was like a solid show, and it was on free TV. Like
Three.
these are pay-per-view caliber shows, and they were just awesome, man. I miss Lucha Underground so much.
I really do. It was
Bring it
so
back.
good. I hate that I saw it like towards the end of it, the seasons. I didn't see it from the beginning. So
I
yeah,
went
it was
back
really good.
for a period of time. It was actually on Netflix the first two seasons. I don't know if it still is, but I
Mm.
went because I started watching it. When did I watch it? I think I started watching it in season. No, I started watching in season one, but not at the beginning.
Uh-huh.
So I got to go back and watch it from the beginning, and I'm like, man, this stuff is so good. And like we saw Io Sky there back when she was Io Shirai. Um,
Ricochet.
Yeah, Ricochet was Prince, although they
Yeah,
didn't call her
that's
Io
fine.
Shirai. Yeah. Um, Santos Escobar was King Cuerno.
Yeah. Brian Cage.
Brian Cage, we
Oh
saw
yeah,
Brian.
he was there.
I'm a machine. Man, he was so much cooler in Lucha Underground.
Yep.
We saw Swerve Strickland.
Yeah.
Yep, he was Kill Shot.
I forgot Swerve was in a Lucha. Man, he
Yep,
was so small.
he was, man. He was. I mean, he looked so small back then. You're right. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, Swerve.
Hmm.
Kudos to putting on that size, man. Because it, yeah, they're big improvement. Let's see who else. Because there were a lot of people. I mean, I know that was where I first saw Angelico and Jack Evans.
Yes,
Although
yeah, I really
Jack
liked
Evans
that
is no
one.
longer there. Which one of my favorite wrestling moments of all time. Shout out to Angelico, which I believe it was at Ultima Lucha. It may have been leading up to it, but I think it was. He was the in the trios championship, which I love this. It was Son of Havoc, who is oh God, I know his name too. Matt Cross, M Dog Matt Cross. Evilise and him were thrown together as a trios team, and the story, like it seems so random,
Mhm.
but it worked. And Evilise was injured, legitimately injured during the bulk of this angle, and they made it work. But the moment I'm talking about is when Angelico climbs on top of like the office thing, and I'm not gonna lie, it's got to be at least because that ring, the ring in Lucha Underground was probably a 16 footer.
Probably six. I think it was a 16 by 16.
I think it was a 16 by
Yeah.
16, and he was a few feet away from the side of the ring. So I'm gonna guesstimate 20 feet. So I'm gonna no, it was more than that. Uh, let's say 25 feet away from what was happening in the ring, and I'd say at least 15, if not 20 feet in the air. And he just dives off the top of this building and cross bodies and hits it perfect. But for that show, Lucha Underground did a great job of always being acrobatic in matches, but saving the really big stuff for when it mattered.
Yeah, they didn't do it like every single time, every single match.
I mean, they did crazy stuff every match, but it was stuff
Yeah,
that
yeah,
these particular guys could do in their sleep.
yeah.
Like those luchadors can all do springboard moonsaults. They can probably do 100 in a row, and you know, it's nothing to them. But and then we even saw Rey Mysterio for a bit in Lucha
Yeah.
Underground. That was cool.
Wasn't
Just
Eddie Guerrero's daughter in there too for a
I
little bit?
I think so. I can't remember.
I
I
thought she
cannot
was in there
remember
for
for the
like at
life of
least a
me
little
what
bit,
name
like
she was.
one
Yeah,
match
it
or
was a
two.
little bit. Oh, and we saw Thunder Rosa. That was her television
Yeah, yeah,
debut for wrestling. She was
yeah.
Cobra Moon. We saw Luchasaurus was there as Vibra, although he didn't last particularly long. He got killed off.
Didn't
Once in a
Chavo
while.
actually do a couple matches?
Chavo was there for a bit. Yep, Chavo was there for a minute. Sexy Star before she got blacklisted for good reason. But let's see who else, because there were a lot of, and then Phoenix obviously. But yeah, there were so many. Just it was great. And then there's guys that still work in AAA that were there but are obviously not on
Hmm.
AEW or American television, which I think the fact that Drago isn't on American television is a travesty.
Yeah.
It's probably his size though. That's got to be it because he was on the shorter side, but
Yeah, but you can do so much, with that
oh,
size.
Drago
Yeah,
was Drago and Aerostar both were phenomenal, but I gotta think it's their size.
Well, guys, on that note, gonna
Oh,
leave
you
you
got to roll.
hanging. Yep, I gotta roll out.
Well, we'll be wrapping it up shortly, but before you go, I know you got a minute, but I have a question for both of you. Do you guys like meat?
I
yeah,
love meat.
What
same
if
here.
I told you that you could sign up for a service and get a box full of meat I think you can set it up for every 4 weeks or every 8 weeks, depending on the size of your box and family. Is that something that you would like?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Well,
I'd have been
guess
set
what?
for it.
Guess what? It exists. Our friends at Butcher Box can set you up. And what I'm holding here is the free brisket that I got when I signed up for my first box. And if you think that's a good deal, that's what they're doing now. I'm actually kind of mad about it. If you sign up for Butcher Box now, you can choose between getting free salmon for a year, free ground beef for a year, or free chicken breasts for a year.
Ooh.
I'm kind of mad
Go
about
with
it.
the salmon.
Ooh.
I gotta say, I got some of their ground beef, and I haven't eaten my salmon yet in my first box, but I did eat their ground beef. It was stupendous. I have had their sirloin. It was my fault. I overcooked it a little bit, but it was still extremely good. Like I was pleasantly surprised. So happy ButcherBox customer. And if you click that first link in the description, you can sign up for you can sign up for ButcherBox and get meat stuffed into your mailbox every month. It actually comes in a box. It won't fit in your mailbox. It's actually quite a big box. Trust me, it may seem like you're not getting that much food, but I'll put it to you this way. I cooked one sirloin steak, I cut it in half. They're huge. So please check out ButcherBox and use the link in the description because it helps the podcast out. So sign up for ButcherBox today and enjoy your meat.
Have a meat-tastic time.
That's it.
Yeah.
Get so much meat, you'll get the meat sweats. Pork, chicken, seafood, shrimp, scallops, all that good stuff. Okay, Brian, you can go now.
See you guys.
See
See
ya.
ya.
Let me see you, Brian.
But yeah, we'll be wrapping it up soon too because I really, unless you can think of anything, I really don't have much else to say about Mercedes.
Honestly,
We'll
not
see.
really.
We'll see. And this is one of those cases. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope Mercedes brings them back above the 1 million viewership mark.
I do too. I just don't see it. Like when she was in WWE, to me, she had so much help, to elevate her matches, but on her own, I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not trying to dig at her, but I mean,
Mhm.
we've seen it. Like,
Yeah.
and I try not to comment on the actual work in the ring because I've never wrestled. So I criticize the
Same
hell
here.
out of booking. That's why
Mhm.
that's why Brian's helpful because Brian has wrestled, so he can give a little bit more insight on certain things. But
Uh-huh.
I will criticize the hell out of booking because storytelling is huge and also universal. You don't have to be an author to know a bad story when you see one.
Yeah, like she was part of one of my favorite women's matches. It was with her and Hell in a Cell with Charlotte. I love that match, but I don't see that particular like Sasha anymore.
Nope. And one of my favorite matches with her, again, NXT, was her match with Becky Lynch. I forget which takeover it was, but it was
Oh
when
yeah, yeah, that was pretty good too.
it was so good. And not only was the match great, the story was phenomenal. Because that
Yeah,
was back when Sasha was a heel.
yeah, she plays best as a heel. I never liked her as a baby face.
I mean, I liked her enough as a baby face, but
In some matches, maybe, but to me,
I,
she
I
just like had a natural heel.
yeah, I will admit. And when I first started watching NXT, it was right in the middle of them doing the Sasha's Ratchet chants.
Oh, okay, okay.
So you gotta remember, I don't know what's going on, and I had known about the word ratchet for maybe a month. So I'm old. I was old then, and I'm old now. I actually had the worst dad joke ever. It'd be like, "That's not a ratchet, that's a ratchet." Uh,
But
but yeah,
hopefully,
hopefully,
yeah,
hopefully I'm wrong.
yeah, because like it seems like every like woman Tony brings in, they die out within like a month or two. I remember what happened to what was that girl, Tyler Valkyrie?
Oh,
I
Taya,
haven't
yeah,
seen her. Yeah, 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 uh-huh. I haven't seen her
yeah.
in
And
months.
so here, fun fact: I saw Taya. Where did I see? Oh no, in Lucha Underground is where I first saw
Oh,
Taya
oh yeah,
Valkyrie.
yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
Phenomenal in Lucha Underground, and then she
Yeah,
went to TNA and she was great there.
yeah,
Ever since she came to NXT when she was Frankie Monet,
yeah, 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 yeah. That didn't
I
work.
I have not seen the old Taya. I don't know what happened. It wasn't that big of a gap, and there wasn't an injury that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Taya Valkyrie she used to be one of my favorite wrestlers to watch because she was so damn good.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened. I don't
I don't
know.
know. It seemed like
And
something took it out of her for a bit.
maybe,
The
yeah.
NXT or something.
Well, in NXT, she was really not doing in-ring stuff, at least not that I
That's
recall.
true. That's true. Yeah, they wasn't really using her much, and then they released her out of nowhere.
Which fun fact, when I heard her name was going to be Frankie Monet in NXT, I knew she wasn't going to last long because I'm like, that name sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
It's terrible.
It didn't fit her at all.
No, no, no. It was quite bad. And I guess what is Johnny going by these days? Johnny TV, I think is what they called him.
Oh yeah, yeah. He keeps changing it
I'm fine
wherever
with
he
him
goes.
changing it. It's kind of cool, but why Johnny
Yeah,
TV? Johnny Elite, which is what he actually when he first came into AEW, that's what they called him.
yeah.
Why? Why? What? Johnny TV? That's so lame.
I don't know why they have to change something or make something worse when it was already perfect.
I don't know. I'm hoping it wasn't him, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That's another guy. Why is he not on television?
He still works there?
Apparently, he was ringside with I'm not really sure what their status
uh,
is per se, but I'll be honest, I don't really understand why he's not in WWE. They brought him back for a minute
mhm.
and then they released him.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I gotta say, because John Hennigan is his real name, dude is hilarious. He did he did a movie a while back, which I think he actually helped produce it. I could be wrong on that. Boone the Bounty Hunter.
I heard it, but I never saw it.
Oh my
I gotta
God.
watch it.
It is so like it's dumb, but in the
Yeah.
best way. I forget there's my favorite moment, which this is just my sense of humor, because stupid lines just crack me up. He's he tackles a guy and punches him and he's like, "Where's Eddie or where's Rico or something, whatever." And he's like, he's up the stairs, like the guy's not resisting at all. He's like, he's up the stairs, and then he punches him again and goes, "Where are the stairs?" Oh god. But yeah,
I
the
gotta
guy's
look it up.
hilarious. And then the bits he
Mhm.
was doing back in WWE CW when he and the Miz got put together, which whose ever
Yeah.
idea that was, and they were doing the dirt sheet.
Yeah. Yeah. Slow motion.
Oh, you know
The
what?
water
Actually, I
guns.
remember. Actually, I heard Miz talking about that. That was their idea. because they were
Oh, okay.
told they were basically told they were on the chopping block, and they said, or no, they weren't on the chopping block. They weren't being given matches on TV.
Yeah, yeah, they
So
weren't.
they said, "Give us a camera," and then they do that, and they got over like that, and it was so good. Yeah, I would love to see John Morrison back in WWE. Put him back. Do a trios thing with him and R Truth. It'd be great. Miz, R Truth, and Morrison.
That'd be really good. The
It'd
new
be
M&M.
it'd be over in a second.
Yeah, it would be.
Truth can do a bit. But he's like, "How do you do that thing where you make everything move slow?" And he's like, "It only works in the entrance." He's like, "Man, I love to be able to do that. Do it." Just like I said, I don't know how they can make R Truth simultaneously like one of the most loved people on TV and the dumbest at the same time.
He's the
He,
only one I could say I could watch and like he knows how to he mastered it perfectly.
yeah, because I think he just commits to it well enough because he
Yeah.
never takes me out of it.
Uh-huh.
Like the bit with the Royal Rumble, that should have infuriated me, but I loved it.
Oh yeah. The part where he tell me those are all women.
Like, I don't know, and like if it frustrates me somewhat because I cannot explain why that doesn't annoy me. I guess it has to be just because Truth is so good about keeping the
Yeah.
bit. And it's like
Yeah.
it's funny because in my head, my head canon for this is like, why is he there? Why has he not been fired? And it's got to be because like the
Uh-huh.
boss just loves it. The boss loves watching him be a doofus.
Well, that's what I heard. I heard like Vince really liked him so
I
much. That's why he
know for
kept
a
him on.
fact that yeah, I know. Apparently, Vince was a big fan of Little Jimmy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I heard too.
Yeah, which you know because like I'll be honest, I think somebody said this. The whole reason Gold Dust Tourette's gimmick lasted as long as it did was because it cracked everyone up.
Yeah,
And honestly, I know it's not politically correct. I don't care. That shit's funny.
it was.
But
I
it's
still
not
remember
like
it.
it's not offensive because it's not real Tourette's.
Uh-huh.
Is he got it because he got electrocuted. Like it's not even close to real Tourette's. They're in the cockles. Ah. I love watching that bit. He does that is when he says that he's in the ring with Triple H and Ric Flair and they can't
Yeah,
hold it together.
yeah.
Because Dustin is because Dustin's actually a really funny guy. He just does that.
Uh-huh.
He did that sound just to make Triple H break. I'm convinced. You can't tell me otherwise. He saw him breaking into
It's like him and R Truth are really good.
my God.
Like
They did a
between them two
bit.
and Booker.
Goldust and R-Truth did a bit there for a minute.
Oh yeah, they did. They did
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for a while. They was tag teams
Golden
for
Truth, wasn't it?
yeah, go yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Oh
And
man,
then
that was
later on,
that was good
him
stuff.
and Booker team up. That was really good.
It's so believable that Damian Priest would want to have R-Truth around. Like that's it. It just
Yeah.
worked. He was like, "You're funny." I
Hmm.
could see that.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Speaking of them, like I was hoping that Judgment Day, like I like them, but I just hate the comic routine with them too. You know, I wish there was more like a I don't know, a stronger presence, or almost kind of like the dark. I was gonna say Dark or the other one, Alistair Black, House of Black. I was hoping it was be more consistent like that, but it seems like every time they get that way, then they throw something else that's like a comic relief.
yeah, I forget the other guy that they added. I wasn't a fan of his at
Um,
first, but
yeah,
I'm okay with it now because honestly, they had to replace their punching bag is what happened because Dom was their punching bag, but then Dom got over.
that's true. That's
So
true.
I kind of get it. At the time, I was like, "What are they doing?" But it's like, "Oh yeah, Dom is no longer the punching bag. Dom is
Yeah,
actually."
yeah.
Which
He's over to a
I
point.
love the fact
He's
that
pretty much
he got booed at his own wedding. I loved it. Which again, it was probably a bit, but it was still funny. He's trying to
Yeah.
give his speech and they're booing. Like this is fantastic. I love it. Oh, but anyway, yeah, so I don't have anything more to add for Sasha other than I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong about a lot of things. I hope AEW can get their shit together and I think part of the problem now is I think honestly they have too many shows.
I think so. I think they need to just cut one of them off and just
They need
focus
to
on
they
just
need to
two.
get yeah, they need to get rid of Rampage. Well, actually
Yeah.
no. Yeah, they need to get rid of Rampage because
Or
like
Collision. Because the Saturday,
but
it's
apparently yeah, when you don't have CM Punk to anchor it, Saturday's a really bad night to have wrestling
yeah.
on.
Hmm.
But I mean, apparently Warner Brothers Discovery wants it, so
Yeah.
I don't really blame them for keeping it around. But I guess like
Yeah.
you have the talent pool, just make it better. Like
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not the talent, it's the booking.
that,
Just like
yeah,
hire
exactly. That's
people,
it. And what I've kind of envisioned for them is you've got Dynamite and not Ram. You got Dynamite and Collision that are like legit wrestling shows. Rampage is an hour. Rampage is where you can Tony Khan can book Rampage absolutely because it's just random. But
Yeah.
if you use Rampage correctly, what you do is you try things out and see if you can make anything organic happen from it. Like
Hmm.
Rampage is your what if show, at least if I were doing it.
Yeah.
Because
Uh-huh.
an hour's not it's enough time to tell stories. It is, and I guess you can have some meandering, but Rampage has just become the new dark, but Rampage is
Yeah.
where, you know, you think somebody's ready for TV, so you put them on Rampage, but put them with somebody that's experienced that they're never going to get a match with on Dynamite. But yeah,
Hmm.
you can put a I know Nick Wayne is on the roster now, but let's pretend that Nick Wayne was just debuting. That's when you can put a Nick Wayne with a Christian,
Exactly.
just to
It could be
see.
like their NXT almost.
I mean, it really, like I said, it's kind of become their new dark, which for a
Yeah.
while, Dark Elevation was actually really, because that's what they were doing.
Hmm.
When they were doing Dark Elevation at the beginning, the whole point seemed to be to elevate younger talent. So they would put the newer talent in there with experienced people that weren't on the top of the card, but mid to high mid card.
Yeah.
They would put them in there. That's where you'd get like a I can't remember her name now, but she's on the roster now too. Well, I mean, Red Velvet got introduced on, I believe, Dark Elevation.
She was, yeah.
Yeah, which again,
Also, Athena, she was there
Athena.
too
Yeah,
for a bit. And look
yeah,
how far she
Athena.
came.
Yeah, but well, Athena's in Ring of Honor now, isn't she?
Yeah, yeah, they moved her
Yeah,
out there, but she was there for a good bit. Like she was just nothing but dark matches.
yeah.
But
Which
it's like,
that's I forgot about Ring of Honor. That's another thing. I'm not even saying Tony Khan. I don't think Tony Khan should sell it because it's worth the video library, but it really should be on its own network because
yeah.
he's demonstrated that he can't book it either. So who was I actually hypothesized. I can't remember who I said. Damn, I wish I could remember because I was like, shit, I cannot remember. But somebody who works for AEW, and I said, let them book Ring of Honor. Just
Okay.
give it to them. I think it might have been. I think it was Christopher Daniels.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Which
that'd
I
be a
mean,
good choice.
perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it to Christopher Daniels to book.
Hmm.
Like, just do it like Ring of Honor used to be. Don't go. Well, you don't want to go too into where Ring of Honor used to be because there's a reason that the company ended up selling. But I
Yeah.
blame Sinclair for that, honestly.
Yeah, they have the money, but since they never like care for Ring or Honor or put any money into it or stock into it.
Yeah. But now, because Ring of Honor's issue was always money, though. Now they have the money. So
Hmm.
just, and again, for people that like that style of wrestling, that would be so great. I'll be honest, I was never like a hardcore Ring of Honor fan because it seemed to be more about matches than stories. And again, that's just I know there are people that are definitely like that and they like that
Yeah.
kind of wrestling. I'm more of a stories guy, but that's fine and that should exist for the people that like it. So give it to them.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying.
When I first saw Ring of Honor, I saw Leo Rush, and I was
Yeah.
like, it made me a fan of his when I first saw his match. It was less about the storyline, but the match itself was just so good.
Yeah. I've always been impressed with Leo Rush's in-ring ability.
Hmm.
But like his AEW run was pathetic. But again, I don't really blame him. And the matches were great,
Hmm.
but they couldn't figure out what they wanted to do with him. Like he had a killer match with I believe it was Dante Martin. That
Yeah,
sounds right. And God, that was phenomenal, especially if you like high flying matches. Like that was great.
it was really good.
Leo Rush's leg sweep is fr- aesthetically, it's one of the coolest moves. I don't know how he does it. It's so subtle, but he like I can't even explain it. Just watch it. Like watch Leo Rush's leg sweeps. It's crazy. Like I don't know how he physically can do that. It's more like a
Uh-huh.
breakdancing move, but it has oomph to it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Exactly. Like again, I can't
It,
really if you know, you know,
mhm. Yeah,
but you can't really describe it. It's just like, oh, it's like a Leo Rush leg sweep.
yeah, exactly. It's his own thing. Like I never seen someone else replicate it and do it as well as he could do it.
Well, and Leo Rush was a genius because he's spoiler alert, Leo Rush is not a tall guy.
Yeah,
So he started doing low offensive moves and
yeah.
he looked totally different than everybody else. Hey, what's Rockstar Spud doing these days?
I haven't seen him in like
I haven't either.
since
Yeah.
he got fired and
From
hired again. Then
yeah, man, that was a culture shock when I saw Nick Aldis on WWE.
oh,
As a freaking manager though, not a manager, GM.
GM. Yeah,
Did he get injured or something?
he did like
Oh,
recently. He
okay.
did.
That
He did
explains it.
recently.
That explains it.
Um,
Because I was like, you're gonna
I
hire Nick
wait. I'm not
Aldis and
sure
not
he
have him
got
in the ring?
injured like when they hired him, but he's injured now, like with like a torn pec or something like that.
Yeah, I that was weird. I didn't think he was injured when they hired him. I'm like, you're gonna hire Nick Aldis and not
Mm-hmm.
have him wrestle?
Yeah, I understand why would they have him as a GM. I thought maybe he was retired or didn't want to wrestle or something.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know.
To me,
I don't know.
him
It seems odd.
and Cody would be like it's a good storyline from there. They have history. Yeah.
That's assuming WWE would want to acknowledge that, which I don't know why
Oh
you
yeah,
wouldn't.
because yeah, NWA.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'll put it this way: I think Triple H would love to acknowledge it because Triple H is actually a big NWA fan. He's on
Oh
record
okay.
saying this.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, I can see why they probably wouldn't, considering they don't own NWA. But do you really
Hmm.
think Billy Corgan's going to be like, no, you absolutely cannot mention the NWA title on WWE television? Of course you can. Like, really?
Yeah,
Billy, if I'm Billy Corgan, I'm like, hey, you guys, you want to borrow a belt? Like, you can totally use it if you want to.
exactly.
Like, actually, doesn't no, it's not the NWA belt. Triple H paid like an obscene amount of money for an old title. I cannot remember which one it was. It's
Oh, he
not.
did.
I'm thinking NWA, but it's not. I think it's the WCCW. Maybe.
Oh, okay, probably.
I think it's got a blue strap, or it might have been. Yeah, I think it was world class. I could
Oh,
be
okay.
wrong. Internet fans, let me know because I'm like 50% sure I'm wrong, but I do know that he paid a lot of money to have a title in his possession,
Uh-huh.
which is cool. But yeah, I think we're rambling now, so we can probably wrap it up. Thanks everybody for enjoying this episode of Down the Middle. I know it was a little bit shorter than normal, but schedules, what are you gonna do? We hopped on a little early for you, so that's still about an hour, yeah.
Yeah,
So
pretty
let
much.
us know
It
in the
was fun.
comments. Do you think Mercedes Monet will be a success in AEW, or do you think she's going to be obscure until she eventually just comes back to WWE? And also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to sign up for your meat box from our friends at Butcher Box. Please use the link in the description. It helps the channel grow. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks when I guess we'll just have our big WrestleMania preview
Pre-
party.
yeah.
Until then, we'll
Sounds
see you
good.
guys and watch more wrestling. Try to sit through it. I promise I'll do better.